Welcome to the Aquarius Theory. In today's video, we will be discussing perception and why it is the most important aspect of creating your reality. Perception is the state of being or process of becoming aware of something through the senses, or a way of regarding, understanding, or interpreting something, a mental impression. A good illustration of this will be from the book of Proverbs, chapter 23, verse 7, where it states, "For as he thinks in his heart, so is he." Putting it simply, you are the walking manifestation of your own thoughts, which sheds more light on the statement I made in an earlier video, stating how before any action takes place, a thought must first occur. Although this may seem elementary to many people, let's take a deeper look at how perception creates your reality. On the screen is a picture of two individuals discussing a glass of water. One of the individuals states that the glass is almost full, while the other one argues that the glass is almost empty. Which one is correct? This is the power of perception. And this makes me think about the principle of polarity I discussed in the 7 Hermetic Principles. Most notably, the statement that all truths are but half truths. And the reason for that is because opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. And if we continue to analyze the picture, we understand that both individuals are correct, that the glass is almost full and is almost empty, and that the only truth of the matter is that there is water in the glass. And with this concept being better understood, we could then ask the question, in a world full of half-truths, what is absolute? It is my perception that the answer would be unity, and I'll explain why. You see, there is a famous quote by a guy named Robert Evans that goes like this: "There are 3 sides to every story: your side, their side, and the truth. Because truth resides where extremes meet, or where the opposing or varying perceptions come together." So know that when I refer to unity, I'm referring to the state of being united or joined as a whole. So understand and overstand that the unity in which I speak of has nothing, and I repeat, nothing to do with being identical. And to bring this concept full circle, I'm going to play a clip from a video from the School of Life on YouTube. Check out their channel. The video is on The Allegory of the Cave by Plato.
Was what has become known as the Allegory of the Cave. It is perhaps the most famous allegory in philosophy. This was a story that was intended, as he wrote, to compare the effect of education and the lack of it on our nature. At the start of Book 7 of his masterpiece, The Republic, Plato tells us about some people living imprisoned in a cave. They've always lived there and don't know anything of the outside world. There is no natural light in this cave. The walls are damp and dark. All the inhabitants can see comes from the shadows of things thrown up on the wall by a light of a fire. The cave dwellers get fascinated by these reflections of animals, plants, and people. Moreover, they assume that these shadows are real, and that if you pay a lot of attention to them, you'll understand and succeed in life. They don't, of course, realize that they are looking at mere phantoms. They chat about shadowy things enthusiastically and take great pride in their sophistication and wisdom. Then, one day, quite by chance, someone discovers a way out of the cave, out into the open air. At first, it's simply overwhelming. He is dazzled by the brilliant sunshine, in which everything is for the first time properly illuminated. Gradually, his eyes adjust, and he encounters the true forms of all those things which he had formerly known only as shadows. He sees actual flowers, the colours of birds, the nuances in the bark of trees. He observes stars and grasps the vastness and sublime nature of the universe. As Plato puts it in solemn terms, previously he had been looking merely at phantoms. Now he is nearer to the true nature of being. Out of compassion, this newly enlightened man decides to leave the sunlit upper world and makes his way back into the cave to try to help out his companions, who are still mired in confusion and error. Because he's become used to the bright upper world, he can hardly see anything underground. He stumbles along the damp, wet corridors and gets confused. He seems to the others totally unimpressive. When he in turn is unimpressed by them and insists on explaining what the sun is or what a real tree is like, the cave dwellers get sarcastic, then very angry, and eventually plot to kill him. The story of the cave is an allegory of the life of all enlightened people. The cave dwellers are humans before philosophy. The sun is the light of reason. The alienation of the returned philosopher is what all truth-tellers can expect when they take their knowledge back to people who have not devoted themselves to thinking. For Plato, we are all for much of our lives in shadow. Many of the things we get excited about, like fame, the perfect partner, a high-status job, are infinitely less real than we suppose. They are, for the most part, phantoms projected by our culture onto the walls of our fragile and flawed minds. But because everyone around us is insisting that they are genuine, we are taken in from a young age. It's not our fault individually. No one chooses to be in the cave. That's just where we happen to begin. We're all starting from a very difficult place. If, like the man in Plato's story, you bluntly tell people they're wrong, you get nowhere, you cause deep offense and may endanger your own life. Athens had, after all, recently put Socrates, Plato's friend, to death. Plato knew from close experience just what the cave dwellers might do to those who claim to know the sun. The solution, Plato says, is a process of widespread, carefully administered philosophical education, by which he understood the method of inquiry pioneered by Socrates and known to us as the Socratic method. It's a very gentle process. You don't lecture or harangue or force someone to read a particular book. You just start with a general declaration of intellectual modesty. No one knows very much. It's always good to insist. And wisdom starts with owning up to ignorance. Confess that you don't know exactly what the government should do, what war is meant to achieve, or how good relationships work. You then get the other person to say what they think, and gradually, together, you investigate the answers. Most likely, the other person will be confident, or rather painfully, overconfident. They may tell you it's all quite simple, really, and everyone knows the answer already. You must be supremely patient with this kind of bravado. If they go off topic, you must cheerfully double back. You must take a lot of time and be ready to have chats over many days. This method of talking is founded on a lovely confidence that with the right encouragement, people can eventually work out things for themselves and detect errors in their own reasoning if you carefully and quietly draw their attention to tricky points and don't cast blame or ever get annoyed. You never teach anyone anything by making them feel stupid, even if they are at first. We have all started in that cave, but it is Plato's deepest insight that we don't have to stay there. And the road out is called, quite simply, philosophy. This is the sun whose light we can follow, and by whose rays the proper nature of things can become clear.
Again, shout out to the School of Life for the video. Hopefully that video resonated with you as much as it did me. But I want to discuss a few things that the video pointed out. Off bat, the purpose is to show the effect of education and the lack of it in our nature. And just so you know, education comes from two Latin root words. The first one is educare, which means to train or to mold, and inducere, which means to lead out. We will revisit this concept later on in the video. But back to Plato's cave, it shows the allegory of all enlightened people. That truth tellers taking their truth back to the people still in darkness can have negative consequences. And we know this to be true because we still see the effects of this even till this day, 2,000 years later. Plato understood that society imprints our minds on what is important and real. Due to societal norms or peer pressure, we go along with the indoctrination. An indoctrination is just the process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. Understand that this is not what we choose, but where we begin. And I think the biggest takeaway from Plato's cave is that he understood that you cannot force anyone to believe what you believe. And the reason for that is important, which is that no one has all the answers. but by investigating the possible answers together that we may uncover the truth. The key to this process is patience, understanding that there may be plenty of conversations over an extended period of time, but through the lens of philosophy that we may be able to uncover the true essence of our existence. Which brings us back to the present moment. I am not here to force my beliefs on anyone. I am simply sharing information or giving you a different perspective on information that you may or may not have come across already. Please take note that I do take pride in my intellectual capabilities, and it is also this same pride that has shown me that I do not know everything, which has brought forth my love for research and knowledge, which ultimately gave me the idea for this channel, which is by covering various forms of information and concepts together that we may be able to uncover the truth, which is, for most of us, a composition of lies, which may or may not have had our best interests at heart. And as the video stated, this is not what we choose, but where we begin. And our purpose here and now is to figure out where we're going. And it is my perception that in order to find out where we're going, we have to understand where we've been. So we will have to take a look at history, which is the study of past events, particularly in human affairs. And we do know already that history has many discrepancies. But again, we will review this in future videos. And to highlight this concept, I want to place a mental image in your mind, which is that we were told that world history begins with the invention of writing roughly about 6,000 years ago, in the form of the clay tablets of Sumeria. It is also known that many anthropologists believe that Homo sapiens sapiens have been around for roughly about 155,000 years, and know that Homo sapiens sapiens are us, or what we consider modern day humans. And if modern day humans have been walking the earth for 155,000 years, give or take, and history only concerns itself with the last 6,000 years, then that means we are leaving behind roughly 149,000 years worth of information. And with that much information lost, we are doomed to repeat this cycle. So it is important to know your history, to know and learn from your ancestors, so that you can go right where they went left. And with that, this will conclude today's video. So make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on that notification bell. And if you have anything you would like for me to cover, leave it down in the comment section below. And as always, know that your perception is your reality. Peace, love, and light.